Holy Wild Birth is a podcast embracing the reclamation of giving birth, rooted in God's original design, undisturbed.
Here, we share home birth stories highlighting God's presence as the great midwife, as well as conversations about all aspects of a holistic, spirit-led childbearing year. From the perspectives of myself, traditional midwife Lauren Hall of Rooted in Eden Private Contract Association,
And me, holistic doula and birthkeeper Brooke Collier of Sister Birth.
to choose a holy wild birth journey is to consecrate all your decisions unto the Lord.
And to reclaim creation unadulterated by centuries of human attempts to control and improve upon what God has already called good.
Please remember, birth is not a medical event, but a natural process. We are not your care providers, and this should not be taken as medical advice.
Hey, Holy Wild Birth Sisters, this is Brooke here. And today I am excited to share an episode of this podcast with you. My guest for this one is Elizabeth, and Elizabeth is willing and able in a really gracious and beautiful way to share about some of the harder parts of birth. And so just a heads up, this is a worthy and wonderful story, and it also mentions infant loss. And you need to be aware of that before you listen, just in case some of you need to be minding your headspace or guarding your hearts right now because of where you are in your own journeys. But for those of you who want to stick around, this is a great story with just some interesting twists and turns and surprises and some beautiful moments of like synchronicity and serendipity and just God's fingerprints on the details of what is a hard story. So if you want to hang with us, grab that cup of coffee, pop in your earbuds, and enjoy Elizabeth's story. As we dive into today's birth story, just a reminder that the choices and beliefs of the mamas sharing their stories here are as individual and varied as the storyteller herself, and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs or recommended actions of Lauren and or Brooke.
Really happy to be here. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Yeah, so I'm Elizabeth. I worked as a pediatric occupational therapist before I had kids. I worked with birth to 3, early intervention. I love the little ones, toddler and, baby development. That's my jam. And I don't know, I always knew I wanted to be a mom, and so I was totally obsessed with birth even way before I was planning on having kids. I always knew I would have a home birth. My mom had a home birth. That's how I was going to do it. But then I stumbled upon this thing that about you don't have to even have a midwife, and wait, what? That's you don't? And then kind of really dove into that. Just thought it was amazing. And for me, the more I learned about it, the more I was like, I have to do this. Just for me, all of the things that you learn about birth in the medical system and how even that translates into sometimes with home births too. And it's different now than it was when my mom had me and everything. But I don't know. For me, that felt like I'm very naturally minded on a lot of things. And so for me, it just made sense. And so, so I had my first baby. Well, and actually, I'm not really one for labels. So it's people call it different things and whatnot. And so I always am I don't know what to call it really. But we did have I was kind of at the last minute because where I'm at, I'm in the suburbs of Chicago. 5 years ago now, she's 4, my oldest. She's 4.5. So 5 years ago when I was pregnant for the first time, I couldn't find anybody that was in support of, supporting me in a way that's in a non-medical way, wanting support for my birth, but not medical. Couldn't really find anyone. And it was kind of at the last, I was the last 2-3 months, maybe I did find someone, and I was I don't know, maybe I'll talk to her and see. And she was great. So we did have her at the birth, and she was a huge blessing. I had a long labor, and really liked, I needed somebody like squeezing my hips the whole time. And so there was my mom and my husband appreciated that they had a third person in rotation, because it was like, I think it was 30, I'm trying to remember. I don't know, 36 maybe hours or something like that. I don't remember the exact, but so, I mean, not short, but, I've heard of longer. I felt like it was pretty normal for a first birth. But yeah, they appreciated having her there. And then I was really surprised. I had a hard time with the birthing of the placenta. That was really hard for me. In my experience of my first birth, it didn't just like come out, And so I really it was kind of like more of a headspace thing, I think, for me, because I was like, the birth just happened, like that happened and it was fine. It was very like fetal ejection reflex. Like I wasn't doing it. I just let it happen. But yeah, the placenta did not happen that way. And I didn't want to cut the cord until the placenta was born. But after, I don't know how long it was like she was really gentle and kind of like, I think like it's not even pulsing anymore. It hasn't for a while. Like I think it will be easier for you to like get into different positions and relax more so that you can like work on actually get this placenta out. So that's what I ended up doing. And I finally did get that out into the toilet. I don't remember how long it was, but it was maybe like 4 hours. I don't know. It was a long time, but I think it was like in my head, because I had to like push it out and like, I don't know, like kind of like after all the birth kind of highs is done and whatever, I had to do this thing. Anyways, finally got it. I was just so glad she was there to kind of support me through that. And then breastfeeding was really hard for me at first. And she was like, she was there for a long time after the birth actually happened. She's like, I'm not leaving until you have successfully got this baby latched and you're comfortable. And like, she was really wonderful. And so finally we got her latched, but it was really hard. And I struggled with it in the beginning, but I was like very determined. And I was like, I knew that it wasn't supposed to hurt. Like, yeah, maybe a little uncomfortable, but it wasn't supposed to hurt. So like every time if she latched on, but it wasn't comfortable, I'm like, nope, we're trying again. And I would make her get off and try again. So sometimes it would take us like a half an hour just to get a good latch for like every feeding. So it was really hard in the beginning, but it was so worth it because I don't know how long it was like that, maybe a couple weeks or something, but it was worth the effort. And then it was just breezy breastfeeding and it was a good journey. But yeah, she was really wonderful that she was there. And actually, I actually told my birth story of that one with her podcast, the one who attended my birth.
Yeah.
So that's funny.
Was she like what title does she use for herself, if any?
Well, she used Radical Birth Keeper, but was very kind of before, I think she worked as a doula for a while, called herself a doula for a while, and then switched to Radical Birth Keeper and I would have had her attend my second birth, but she moved to Oregon, I think. Yeah, too far away. But I did talk to her when I was pregnant again and just during some of my pregnancy and whatnot. But yeah, so that was the first, and I wouldn't want to do it another way, right? It went well,
so good.
And so when I was pregnant again, obviously we were going to do the same thing. I had a really hard pregnancy, and well, I guess that'll be a spoiler alert if I don't know if I should just maybe I should just jump into second birth story, because you didn't really say anything in the beginning, and I guess I don't know what you're going to title this, but okay.
I don't either. I usually title them after we're done recording.
Okay, well, I'll jump into second birth. So got my first, what I would consider a real contraction at 2:30 a.m. June 21st, summer solstice.
Okay, wait, let's back up just a little bit to your pregnancy. Can I just ask you a little bit more about your pregnancy?
Yes. Yeah.
So was it a given for you that you would go unassisted again when you found out you were pregnant again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it was such a positive experience. And even though the same birth keeper wasn't available, did you search for another, or did you just kind of this time I've got this?
Yes, I actually did. I interviewed several people, all great women, but ultimately ended up going with a friend who hadn't really attended a lot of births, but had recently attended another friend of ours, unassisted birth. Actually, I can't remember if she actually got there in time for the baby. She might have gotten there after the baby was born. But anyways, and she wasn't really trying to get into attending births, but more she was kind of doing it for a friend. She more did postpartum work with women.
Sure. Yeah.
But crazy that, so yeah, she was going to be there. However, she was like an hour away, which not like a huge deal. I feel like that happens a lot when in these sort of situations. However, well, I think it was a God thing. I think that she didn't make it, but we tried calling her several times and no answer, no answer, no answer. But ended up being that her phone did like you know how sometimes your phone does like it turns off and does like the
Yes.
and she didn't know it. So her phone, like she didn't even know that her phone wasn't on and not on purpose once. Yeah. So anyways, but once I tell the story, like she wouldn't have made it there in time anyways.
Like God had some reasons maybe for that.
Yes,
that
totally.
we didn't see until later, but
yeah.
Good. And you said it was like practically the pregnancy was really rough, but you were doing essentially a wild pregnancy. Yeah. Just kind of
I went, I saw my chiropractor regularly, big fan of chiropractic care. And then I actually ended up I found a pelvic floor therapist, and I highly recommend a pelvic floor therapist. They are someone who knows what they're doing. Like, they're wonderful. She was amazing. Like, I would waddle in pain, barely able to walk, and leave walking like a normal human. Like, it was wonderful. So that's what I had for my care outside of like my own taking care of myself.
Yeah, and let me ask you about that too, because when we do wild pregnancies, I find every mom approaches it a little bit differently. Like, there's the moms who are just like, being pregnant is a normal state of life. I'm not checking on anything. I'm just living my life as a pregnant person. Like, I don't, and then there's others who feel like, I want to keep some records, and it's important to me to set dates with myself, to sit down to measure my fundal height and listen to the baby and track my blood pressure and my weight. Like, where on that kind of spectrum did you tend to fall?
More on the, I'm just pregnant, it's just part of life. But I do have a fetoscope, and we played with it some, but not in a sense of like, just because it's fun, it's special to like get to hear the heartbeat inside of you. So we did that a couple of times. We weren't very good at it. The gal who, on my first birth, she was one who always helped us do it. It was in the the end of my pregnancy, but she's the one who like was able to help us find it and do that. And then I don't know, I heard it a couple times in the second pregnancy, and it was just for fun. That was enough for me. As far as that stuff goes, that's about it. Like, I wasn't measuring anything or worried about hearing it. I knew the baby was moving around, and yeah, we heard it a couple times, but yeah, that's kind of where I fell.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I think it's just nice to have an insider look at what a wild pregnancy can
look like. And I think that's what's like beautiful about, there's like this huge spectrum, right, of how much each woman like wants to do, and I totally respect like whatever anyone feels comfortable doing.
Absolutely.
Not going to be the same for all of us.
Right. And yet you did have some people in your corner, like, who were supporting you in different ways, like the chiropractor and the PT and this friend. Yeah. And so you felt supported, and you had the help in the places you wanted and needed it, but also felt the freedom to just kind of live pregnant.
Yep.
Great. So now we can, if you want to,
okay,
move into the actual like onset of your labor.
Yeah. So it's June 21st. Okay. So this was in 2023, June 1st, summer solstice of 2023, 2:30 a.m. when I say I got my first like real contraction. I'm looking at my notes. I wrote this a long time ago, so I was rereading it, and I'm kind of like using it make sure I get it all. And it kind of had, after a couple, I was thinking, oh wow, this could like actually be it. And then I mean, this is a birth story podcast. It's not TMI, right? Got all the
not TMI.
Juicy glorified bits of, I was pooping, and then which is a sign, like of preparing your body for birth. And then it wasn't even an hour later. Yeah, because an hour. Okay. So, and then I go back to bed, and I'm trying to like, I'm thinking in my head, maybe it's starting, but I got a lot of time. I need to try to get my rest, try to go back to sleep. So I was trying to go back to sleep, and then I'm like up on my knees and like trying to get comfortable and like making noises. And I'm like, okay, I needed to go in the other room because my daughter was in our bed. So, and my husband, they were both sleeping. I was like, I'm going to wake them up. I just need to go in the other room. And so then I poop some more, have more contractions. And then once I finally look at the clock, so I had initially looked at the clock at 2:30. And then when I looked at the clock again, it was only 3:30. So 1 hour later, I had already pooped multiple times. I'd had more contractions than I had lost count, and was already having to like kind of like try to work through them. And I'm like, whoa, this is like
a lot faster than your first one.
Yeah. And so thankfully, another God thing, my mom was actually visiting us because I had been having a really hard pregnancy, and I had called her and been like, Mom, like, I know you're going to come stay like with us after the baby is born, but honestly, like, I think I need you more right now because I was just really struggling. And so she ended up coming, and I don't remember how long she had been there. She'd already been there for a little while. And then we were talking about when she was going to be heading home, which I think was going to be soon. I was 38 weeks pregnant at this point. She was there when I turned 38 weeks pregnant, and I think this was like 38 and 2 or 3 days or something like that. I didn't actually write that down. And my first baby was born at 38 weeks. And so I remember it was a couple days after 38 weeks. And I'm thinking, like, I don't know. I'm like, I know it could be longer, but I'm like, man, I don't want to be pregnant anymore. It's just like I was struggling. Like, I just want this baby to come. But it's like it's like it could be a while still. And so kind of talked to my mom about how when she's planning on leaving and what that would look like, and her maybe when she'd be coming back, or I don't know, whatever. But thankfully she was there. Thank God. So she was in the basement. I texted her and she didn't respond She didn't respond right away. So I called her because I can't wait, and I can't.
You were too deep in it to even go.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm just going to call. I'm just going to call her. So I called her, told her what was happening, and she came upstairs and she was helping me in the bathroom. I was in the bathroom again. And then while we're in the bathroom, I was like, Cody's up. Like, I saw him walk by. He went into the other room. And then my mom went and checked, and she's like, no, he's not in there. And she thinks I'm crazy, whatever, labor or brain, whatever. I'm like, no, I really saw him. But what it was is he had walked by, but then walked back again. But we missed that, and she missed both. He realized what was happening and got the monitor from our daughter's room, put it in our room so that we'd be able to see her and shut the door. So she's in our room, and I ended up giving birth in her room across the hall.
How funny.
And yeah, so it just all was so fast. And I wrote here that I didn't even really have time to like figure out what was like going to work for me coping wise. Like, I remember my first birth, we kind of got into this rhythm of figuring out what helped me, and we did it. And it was just like, we went through it. There wasn't even time to like figure any of that out. It was just like kind of felt like chaos. And then I remember, and I thought I felt like there was a bulge, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking, what, already? Like, I feel a bulge already? I think I was thinking it was her head, but it wasn't her head. Ended up being the sac bulging out, which was super weird but cool to feel. And then I don't know how long, then it opened. And then a little while after that, I felt a little foot. Yeah. So I was just like, okay, but like I felt, I'm like feeling her little feet, and her toes are wiggling, and she's moving around. I'm like, she's fine. She's moving around. Like, okay. And like we had talked about this possibility, of like what to do in those situations. So like my husband knew what to do, or rather what not to do. Right. And so I wasn't like super, like, I wasn't worried about that per se, but I think in my head, even though we talked about it, I was worried if I said something, they would start being worried. So I didn't say anything to them.
So you're feeling this with your fingers, like you've reached inside.
Like I've reached, yeah.
And even though you guys have discussed like breech birth and how to handle that, and that it wouldn't change your birth plan, part of you knew that if you told them, they might have a little bit of a anxiety response initially.
Yes. Yeah. And like, I would rather it be happening and then they were like dealing with it than like the anticipation, of like knowing that's what it is, but there's nothing really, like, you're just waiting. So I just like, they don't need to know right now until it's actually like coming out.
I get that.
But when I told them that, at least Cody, I think at some point said, he was like, well, at a certain point, he's like, I could see the feet, and like, you didn't have to tell me anything. At a certain point, he's like, I can see it. So whenever that happened. But so she was born feet first. I mean, she just came out. I don't know. I don't think I wrote any I don't know. It just she just came out.
You couldn't see this happening, so you just kind of, you don't know.
I felt it. In my memory, like there was no like long pause of like her feet or her waist is dangling out and we had to wait or anything like there wasn't anything like that. If there was, it was very short. Like I was not aware of it. She just came out.
So there was no complications there.
No, there was no complications there. I wrote here that I definitely helped with the pushing. Once like my body started pushing itself, then I was like bearing down and like helping. Versus my first birth, I just like let it happen to me. I didn't really like. So that was but I was just like wanted to get it out. Like I was just ready. Like it was so intense. I'm just like, get it out. And then, so that was 2 hours. I think we must have, I don't know. I wrote here that that was at 4:30.
So from your first contraction to her coming out was about 2 hours.
Yeah, it was super intense.
So fast.
Which is why,
which is compared to your last birth.
Well, which is why, and like we tried to call by the time. I mean, it was not even until 3:30 when we started trying to call her, realizing like, oh, this is really happening, and it's like, and she didn't get she wouldn't have got there in time anyways. So it's all fine. So I have her in my arms. I seem to like to birth on my knees. So
gave birth on your knees.
Yes, I seem to like to give birth on my knees. That's how I'm most comfortable. But then once, the baby's out, then I sat back to kind of like just sit and relax, and I'm holding her and just like, okay, wow, like we did it. Like it happened. Like she's here. And I was like, now I just have to like do this placenta birth, which from what I told you before is kind of like, I really was hoping that would go a little differently or be easier, whatever. I had my plan.
Just a quick aside, did she transition well? Like she was pretty pink and good muscle tone and cried and stuff.
So my first baby came out screaming. Lilli, and she needed a little bit she didn't come out screaming. So I rubbed her and kissing her and talking to her. I did do the upside down, kind of like to drain stuff out if there's anything. I tried to suck out fluid. I don't think anything actually came out. I don't think there was anything to come out, but I tried it. But yeah, it didn't really take long.
So just some gentle, instinctual ways of responding to her enough to help her get started.
Yes, that's actually an important part of the story. I'm glad you asked. So then I'm letting, just sitting back like, wow, okay. Like, wow, just like, it was whirlwind. It was so fast, taking it all in. And then I start having more contractions and I'm just like, whoa. I'm like, I did not think like the contractions would be this strong to get a placenta out. Like this is intense. And I had to get back up on my knees. I put her down between my legs and got back up on my knees to be like working through these contractions. And then I don't know how many it took. And then it just hit me. I'm like, there's another baby coming out. There's it was just so crazy. I think nobody said anything. Nobody actually said it out loud. I didn't say it out loud. My husband didn't say it out loud. My mom didn't say it out loud. But at a certain point, we all knew another baby was coming. And so then I'm telling my mom, I'm like, Mom, you need to find the stuff. Please cut the cord. She's right here. Please cut the cord. I need you to cut the cord. And she's like, she's frantically running around trying to find the stuff that we got. We got a clamp thing, and then I got this. I did not like the plastic clampy things for the first time. So I found
the rubber loop thing.
Yeah, I found, yes. So we got the special hemostat things, and then you put so it's more like a rubber band or whatever. So I had those, but I mean, we just weren't expecting me to even go into labor. And I mean, which is silly because I was 38 weeks, but I don't know. I guess I don't know. We weren't expecting it. And then it just happened so fast that she didn't have time during the birth to find them. So she's running around trying. I was like, I don't know where they are. She's like, I don't know where they are either. And she finally found them and cut it and took her. And my mom, this part is this is my mom's fill-in, is my mom she got her wrapped in a towel, took her. By the way, we lived with my in-laws at the time. So she went and was knocking on their door. And it's 3:30 in the morning. She's knocking on the door. Hey, wake up. And she's like, you need to hold this baby. There's another baby coming. And they're like, they're up and okay. So it's another God thing, right? What a blessing that we had all these extra hands because we needed them. And so my mother-in-law has Lilli, and then my mom comes back to me to see what she can do to help and whatever.
Do we have a visitor?
Here's Lilli right here. Yeah. Did you hear me talking about you? And then, so Cody, and this is Cody's words, my husband, he said he describes it as it looked like I was giving birth to an egg. So another baby, and both placentas came out at the same, it was just at the same time.
Wow.
A big egg. It was very intense. And Cody, the sack was like on him still. And my husband took the sack off his face. And then we just proceeded the same way that we did with Lilli, as like rubbing her and whatever, doing all the stuff. And that is where this lovely surprise twin story that I love telling is not fun anymore, and is, not fun anymore. So it was clear, like a mother intuition, and especially we just, and comparing them, once it was like, it probably feels longer than it really is, like kind of like in slow motion or whatever. I was like, I looked at my mom, I was like, we need to call for help. So my mom called 911, and and she, they kind of talked her through it, but she is CPR certified. And so my mom is actually the one who started resuscitation on him. I feel like at that point, I kind of like, I don't know, I feel like the shock of it all, one, that there are two babies, and then that one is not doing well. And I kind of just like sat there staring. It was kind of like another, like, this can't be real life, watching my mom do resuscitation and then talking to the paramedics. And they got there super fast, and then they took over. And once they took over and took him to the ambulance, it's kind of like my brain snapped on. I'm like, I have another baby. So I went and grabbed her, and I sat down on the bed, and she latched right away. It was so beautiful. She just latched right away and was doing great. So it was, I felt some relief at the fact that it was so easy for her to just latch and start nursing, since how it was so hard
Absolutely.
for me the first time. So there's definitely some relief, and just like, it was, I guess happy. There was a lot of adrenaline and all sorts of stuff coursing through me. Lots of definitely shock. And I had, and then hindsight 2020 of, it was such a hard pregnancy for me. And like, then it's like, it kind of makes sense. Later, once we got all the like weighing of things. So I birthed just shy of 20 pounds of baby and placenta.
That's amazing.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
No wonder I was struggling.
For real. Yeah.
I had some jokesters in my family about, it's probably twins because you're so big. But like, I did not ever give it, like, in my head, it was just like unfathomable. Like, I don't know why, but it was. Honestly, I think it just worked out how it was supposed to, and it wouldn't have changed anything. If I'd have known I was having twins, I would not have done anything different.
You would have still stayed home.
I would have still stayed home. So the only thing it would have done is probably my family would have been more anxious.
So almost like not having that information shielded you from some externally introduced anxieties and fears, and
yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Protected your peace,
for sure,
going through not only pregnancy but even through the labor.
Yes.
Did Cody go with the pregnant baby to the hospital, or did he stay home?
So that is a hard part of the story, especially for him.
Okay.
They said, so he was going to go with, so his name is Hugh Dale. He was going to go with Hugh, and they said that was fine, but they just need to get everything situated, and then he could hop in the ambulance. So he's standing right outside the ambulance, waiting for them to say, yep, hop in, and they drove away without him. I can just picture it. It's like a movie. I feel he was like, I started chasing it, running after it for a minute until I got my head, screwed on a little bit straight, realizing I wasn't going to do anything. And then he went and, this is, I guess, the whole other thing. So I was very adamant that me and Lilli did not need to be patients. There was nothing wrong with Lilli or I. But, it's all about liability and saving their own butts and whatever. And they honestly, they only care about, I feel like they just care about their own, like what the liability of their skin and what could happen to them. And they don't really care about what I'm saying or what we're all saying. My family everybody tried to advocate for me, but ultimately, like, we're worried about Hugh, and that's our top concern. And we don't really have the mental capacity to be like fighting them, because we're all like worried about this. But Cody tried, my mom tried, my mother-in-law tried a little bit in a way. They tried to take the baby from her before I took the baby from her, and she was like, no, I'm not handing this baby over to you.
Good job, mother-in-law.
Yes, she's wonderful. And I will forever be grateful to her for doing that. Yeah, but they were just, we're all vulnerable, and like they are just relentless. And then I finally was, like, fine, but we're not being separated. We're staying together. Nope, they separated us. It was horrible. So I have my trauma that is about Lillian is like they're intertwined but also like separate, and I feel like it wasn't until probably, I don't know, probably after she was a year old before I really was like trying to work through the stuff that happened with her, because I was so focused on working through my grief. Oh, I guess getting ahead of myself. But Cody ended up jumping in the ambulance with Lilli, thinking that we're all going to the same place. Well, he found out en route that we were in fact not going to the same place. So he called his dad, and his dad ended up getting in the car and going to the hospital that they took Hugh to, so that we didn't want him to be alone.
Right.
At all.
And where are you? They didn't put you in an ambulance with Lilli?
No.
You're at home.
No, they put us in separate ambulances. It was so
3 different ambulances.
Yes, it was horrible. And then later, like when I was trying to figure out all the like paying the ambulance bills and talking to them and stuff, a gal that I was talking to, she was like, they didn't put you in the same ambulance. And I'm just like,
that makes no sense.
I do not understand why they forced that. And we tried so hard but you're just vulnerable, and you just don't.
Yeah.
Immediate post-birth vulnerability, plus my baby is, I don't know what's happening with my baby. So yeah, that's
I'm so sorry.
So that was a hard part of it. But then my mom ended up she got in the ambulance with me, and so we were separated from Lilli for however long the ambulance ride was. And then I don't know, it took a few minutes of me being like, give me my baby, and then they finally brought me my baby. I mean, she was across the room from me, but it's just like, give me my baby. You do not need to be doing whatever you're doing to her over there. Yeah. I think so I didn't even realize this. It's just like, I think Cody said he told me, but I forgot. I don't know. And it came up later, but they did give her like a little bit of formula right away. I'm just like, excuse me, like, what?
You'd already nursed her even, right? Like she'd already latched.
She had latched, but I mean, she probably hadn't gotten a lot, but because they took her from me, like right after she latched, pretty much. Right. And so then they were all saying all these ridiculous things. And I'm just like, no, she just needs her mother. And I remember the nurse, I think it was a nurse, who like brought her to me. She's all like bundled up, and got the little baby hat on. And she handed her to me, and I just ripped that blanket off of her so we could be skin to skin. And I took the hat off of her, and the nurse was like offended. And she's like, she needs that hat. And I'm like, no. I looked at her. I'm like, no, she needs her mother.
You're awesome.
So it's like, and then like the nurse, my nurse was really great actually, but the doctor, she just like came in. I didn't even know, like, I know she's a doctor because afterwards or whatever, but somebody ends up being the doctor, comes in and starts like pushing on my stomach like really hard, like out of nowhere. Doesn't talk to me, doesn't say anything, doesn't introduce herself. And I was just like, I'm screaming at her. I'm like, stop, no, like until she stops. I don't know how many times I had to yell at her to stop, and she finally did. And she's like, I need to do this. I was like, no, you don't need to do this. I'm like, I don't even know who you are. And then she proceeds to like try to, I don't know. She was like, well, I have to check to see something about my placentas. I was like, I already birthed my placentas. They're not in me anymore. And she's like, well, how can you be sure? I'm like, excuse me? Like, I birthed them at my house before I even came here. Just like, it was out, and they're right over there. We brought them. I don't know how that ended up happening, but they were at the hospital. I got to keep them though.
Cool.
But yeah, it was like so wild. And then another doctor did not come near me the whole time I was there, which wasn't very long. I discharged myself. What is it? Like
against medical advice, AMA.
Yes. But it's like a technicality, right? To save their butts, right? So because the doctor comes in, I think it was a different doctor, it was a guy, and he doesn't even come close to me. He basically just walks in the room and then stands with his hands behind his back and doesn't come anywhere near me to talk to me. Well, I think because I was so like, I yelled at the other doctor. doctor. So he kept his distance from me. And then basically he was just like, well, it doesn't seem like there's anything we could do for you, whatever. I'm like, nope, there's not.
I didn't
like,
want to
yeah,
be here.
I'm gonna...
I would like to go
like
make sure my other baby is okay.
I told them I didn't need anything. I'm fine. There's nothing for you to do. Anyway, so I ended up, it was probably ended up being a couple hours before I was able to discharge myself.
And did they tell you where was Hugh during all this?
So they took him to the closest, because he was actually emergent, right? There was nothing wrong with me and Lilli. So they took us to a hospital that was farther away.
Yeah.
And they actually took him to a hospital. I'm trying to remember. By the time I discharged, we headed to Rockford. Once they got him stable it was McHenry, they helicoptered him to NICU in Rockford.
Where it had a higher level of care.
Yeah, they have a really great NICU. I have only great things to say about them.
Good. That's wonderful.
But the nurse was like really nice to me, and like she's just, yeah, she was on my side, and she was really, I did feel like supported from her. And then my friend who was going to attend the birth, she ended up meeting us at the hospital, and she was super helpful, because probably just because of like things like the tenseness and anxiety and like all that stuff, really struggled to go to the bathroom, like pee for the first time. And I was like, I don't want to go anywhere or do anything until I finally pee, because like I knew I had to, but like I couldn't. So basically it was like, it felt like a mini like giving birth again. It's like she came in the bathroom with me, she turned off the lights, she like rubbed my back trying to help me relax, and like finally I was able to pee. And then like I think we left shortly after that. I was basically just waiting for myself to pee so we could leave. But she was there. She was great, and she brought food for my family and me and everything. So yeah, there's just so many parts to this story. So it's just...
Well, you were literally in two different places. So there's like the story thread going on with Lillian, and then there's the story thread going on with you, and like they're happening simultaneously, but you're only in one of the two places.
Yeah, which a lot of threads to this. So I feel like it's necessary to say, because it's the reason why I had to leave Lilli. So one of the paramedics, there was a house full of them. I mean, there's 3 ambulances. One of the paramedics called CPS. And we did not find out what the call was actually for until like well after. So later, so we didn't find out until after everything was over and we were settled back at home, like, I don't know, whatever, a week later, what the call was actually of, like when they came to the house for a visit, which she was really great. I mean, she's just doing her job, but it was that the call that they got, and it was red flagged as like emergent, must do now, because it was baby unresponsive and parents refusing treatment or care or something. And I was like, that's literally why we called 911, is because we wanted you to treat our baby, and you treated him. It's hard to know like what it's something I've been working on, forgiveness, and just like not needing to know what all the details exactly were, but it is like, I don't know, if I tried to give the benefit of the doubt, it's okay, there's just some sort of miscommunication and they were just doing their job. And then the other part of me is like, or were they just hoping that would red flag us and we'd get investigated because they were upset that we had these babies born at home and there was no midwife. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really know. Anyways, but so it would have been nice to know this, but I think they were in their way trying to like respect what was going on with our family and be like, oh, you don't have to worry about this till later. But it would have been nice to know like what the call was about and that they knew it was unfounded, because the gal said that as soon as she got it, like, you know, found that out, she's making calls. And she said the first person she talked to, it was cleared up and she knew that it was unfounded.
You
but
mean
they still have to like go through,
knew that it was unfounded?
Kind of like,
okay. Yeah.
Yes, the caseworker. Yeah, like she knew it was unfounded from like the moment it hit her desk, basically. And as soon as she made that call, but we didn't know that because we didn't even know what the call was or what was going on or whatever. But because of that, I wasn't able to discharge Lilli to take her with me. So I had to leave her if I wanted to go see Hugh. I had to leave Lilli.
Choice and position to be put in.
Yes, it was very hard, and I'm glad we had so many people because so I wouldn't have left her alone. My mom stayed with her, and my mom. And I probably wouldn't have left, but the hospital had the option of donor milk. So while I was gone from her, my mom was able to give her donor milk bottles. Mercy. Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, exactly. Looking for the the ways in which how I try to look at it, and how, I mean, there's really no other way to look at it, is God really does take the tragedy of this world and he can turn it for good, and he can be there to, like, he can't, I mean, there's sin, right? The world is sinful and these bad things happen, but like he's still there trying to like do these things to like make it better. And we definitely saw a lot of that. And I mean, that's one of them, because I probably wouldn't have left her if that wouldn't have been an option. And then yeah. So it was hard to leave her, and I remember my nurse putting me into the car. She walked me all the way to my car and helping me in and get situated and stuff. And she was just so sweet. I don't remember what she said to me, but I know she was sweet. And I told her, I'm like, I feel like I'm grieving something that I never even had or knew I had. But yeah. So by the time I got to, by that time Cody was he was there from the beginning. So Cody
And gone
dad,
with Hugh, followed Hugh's ambulance, basically, right?
yes, he was at the hospital with Hugh until they airlifted him, and then he came to get us, and he drove us to
Okay.
Rockford, which was like an hour. It's about an hour drive away. Which again, I thought that wasn't fun,
I'm sure.
riding in a car,
Not the
having to drive an hour in a car right
regard.
after giving birth.
You would have been ideally home.
No, not at all.
In your bed and playing your babies, and none of this is what you wanted or planned for.
Yeah, no. So by the time, so when we get there, I think they were doing some more tests, and we like got to watch it. And with my background in OT, I know like a little bit about like stuff that's, lines and different things that are like going on in a hospital room. So I'm not like completely, I won't pretend that I know like, oh, I really know what's going on, but I know a little bit, and I know enough to know that when I was watching the monitor when they were doing his like brain test, that there was nothing he had, so no brain function. And then I asked if I could hold him, and they got me all set up to hold him. And then while we were just holding him, being with him, they came in and asked us, or I don't really remember how they said it or whatever, but basically like that they think he would be a good organ donor. And I mean, me and my husband we just looked at each other, and then I looked back at the doctor, and I was like, yes, we would love to learn more about that. And so that is why we ended up having 5 days with him, because that's how long it took to like figure out and go through all the testing and just like figuring out what exactly he would donate and like lining it all up and stuff like that. It changed a couple of times, but ultimately, he ended up donating his heart.
And our listeners can't see, but you have this smile on your face as you say that through tears of the meaning and redemption of that, huh? Yeah.
So hard, but clinging to, and I hope that, as, it goes on, like just being able, and this being an opportunity to like be a witness, like to share like how God really can make a tragedy into something amazing. I mean, I really want to get into all the details of that, because it's really just it's a miracle. And it's hard what we keep saying when we talk to my family. It's like, it wasn't our miracle, but it was somebody else's miracle. And we were planning on having 2 babies. So we got the baby that we were planning on, and another family got to keep their baby. And I feel like we said this multiple times. I remember we said it to ourselves on at least one of the drives to the hospital. Just like, if this was going to happen to somebody, we're probably like a good family for it to happen to, because we have so much support around us. And I know not everybody has that, as hard as it is. So there was, it changed a couple of times what he was going to donate. I can't even remember what it was going to be at first, but then, and they kept, updating us and whatever. And then it was like we think we found like this match that he can donate his heart. And what do you think about that? And we're like, yeah, like that would be amazing. And so we had to sign some papers, because they asked us for permission to actually video tape the surgery, because I guess it's I don't really know what about the technology or the surgery or whatever that what they were doing is new. I think maybe it has something to do with how they're able to like keep the heart vital for long enough to like travel to a distance, because I think it went to one of the Carolinas. I can't remember. So I'm not totally certain what like the what was special exactly, but I know it was something new, some new technology and special thing that they were using. I don't know if it's because his heart was doing it on such a tiny heart. I don't really know. We're hoping to find out. I've actually been in contact with the Gift of Hope, and they reached out to the teaching hospital that asked for their permission to record it, and is trying to, because they said something about probably be in medical journals, whatever. And so we're like, hey, can we know? We'd love to learn about it, whatever it was. Once that happens. So we're kind of waiting to hear from them on that. But so what it was so his heart and valves were good. And so his heart and valves went into a baby who a bad heart but good valves, but they don't really want to separate it if in that way. So the baby got Hugh's heart and valves. But then that baby's good valves went to a different baby who needed only valves, but his heart was good.
3 babies were involved.
Yeah, so it's kind of so it's this, so I was really, I mean, how only, that's not a coincidence that it could all line up and the timing, right, and everything, because the timing has to be right with these things. So, I mean, it's a beautiful miracle. Okay, and then, get this. So they had told us it was kind of this new thing that they were doing and whatever, because, they want to make sure that the families, before they consent to organ donation, they kind of know, you know what I mean? They want to make sure they give them all the information. And so we get to every step of the way be consenting, which organs and, and all this stuff. And so we knew it was kind of this newer technology and stuff, but we're yeah, we want to take the chance on that. I mean, if they're all thinking he's a good candidate and everything looks good, we want to go ahead and do it. Well, they didn't exactly tell us how new it was until after it was successful. So his was the first successful one. Yeah. I think I can't remember if it was the third or fourth time they had done it, and the first time it was successful.
Incredible.
I mean, I feel we're just it's just wild, I feel and amazingly beautiful. And I'm, I feel proud. I mean, it's the only thing I'm really going to get to be proud about that he does. And, and just, his little heart was so strong when we got, so you get to go, the hospital does, okay, I'm sorry. This is very distracting for me. I'm going to need to go get her situated. So, can't remember.
You know how proud you are of Hugh. It's such a strong.
Yeah, and honored, yes, strong heart. So we got to take him back and go all the way to the operating room with him. They do this thing they call an honor walk for organ donors, where they make an announcement over the PA system, and all of the hospital workers who are able come and just line the hallways. So the whole way to the whole way from his room, his NICU room, to the operating room the hallways were lined with the staff from the hospital, all just clapping. Yeah. And then we got to be with him, and we got to held him until he died. I was holding him, but it took a really long time, actually, which is quite beautiful, because they were they kept checking and stuff, and it's his heart's still beating, it's strong. It's well, that's good, because it's about to go into another baby, so good, he's got a nice strong heart. But yeah, it took a really long time. I can't remember how long it was, but my arm couldn't, he was a heavy boy, and my arms could not, I couldn't hold him the way I was holding him. I wasn't I wasn't propped and stuff. I was in a wheelchair, and I didn't have propping and everything, and my arm was just killing me. I wasn't expecting to have to hold him so long.
Much more quickly once the life-saving.
And I mean, I don't know that they really told us a specific time, but yeah, they were surprised at how long it took, and we were surprised too. But I was like, can I pass him to Cody? And so then when my arm got too tired, I passed him to Cody, and Cody was holding him when he died. And then they want to do it pretty quickly, right? So as soon as that happened, then they took him and put him in, and they ushered us out so they could start the surgery right away. Yeah. Yeah, and I have so much more I want to say. I don't know how we're doing on time, but about just the fact that more of the just feeling just all the just small ways in which God was there. I mean, my mom was at the house already. We were living with my in-laws. Our daughter, I was so loud, and we had 3 ambulances of paramedics in our house. It was chaotic, and my daughter slept through the whole thing, which is such a blessing, because that would have been, I feel that would have been traumatic for her. And for me, it was, I think, the fact that it was quick. I wasn't like, obviously I was exhausted and it was tiring, but like I could have been so much more exhausted if it had been a longer labor, but I needed that energy to like deal with everything that I was dealing with. And the fact that the placentas got birthed before the paramedics arrived, because I feel like that would have been worse for me and things that they would have tried to do to me or whatever if the placentas hadn't have been born already. So I feel like that was a huge blessing. And then honestly, yeah, all the doctors and nurses in the NICU were wonderful. And I've heard I feel like I've heard so many bad things about home birth transfers. And those are even like with midwives too, but of just, not being treated very nice because you chose to have a home birth and then something like went wrong. And so it's your fault or whatever. But we did not get any ounce of that. They were so wonderful, and really not even like, I don't feel like I needed the reassurance, but it was my family who needed the reassurance and they got it. It wasn't even like one doctor one time. It was like multiple different nurses and doctors talking to different of my family members, trying to like be like, like, we don't know why stuff happens like this. Like stuff like this happens in the hospital too. Like you just telling us different things about how babies can be born healthy and then like a few hours later they're just gone and like you don't know why and like all these different things.
So there was
we just
no
don't really
like
know why these things
blaming
happen
your
and
birth plan
they just
or
do.
anything like that going on.
No, they were so great. They even came and asked they were like, who started the like resuscitation on him? Like, you did such a great job. That's why his organs were so vital that he could
that must have meant a lot for your
donate.
mom to hear that. Yeah.
Which really helped my mom because that was my mom. Yes, it did. And the day that I didn't actually get to see it, but our moms took a picture. So they brought his body back to us when he was done with the surgery so that we can have some time with him and we got to take more pictures and stuff. And then when we were saying our final goodbye, just the two of us, our moms were with us while we were waiting for the surgery, and then they said they were there for a few minutes and then they left and took all our stuff to the car, and then it was just us with him. And when they left, the moms before us, there was a rainbow. Just like, and I love rainbows, and it's just like so awesome that God would put a rainbow in the sky on the day that he died. Like, what a beautiful little reminder of his promises, And I definitely feel like there was this layer of peace over us the whole time. I mean, hardest week of my life for sure, but we definitely felt like the peace and comfort that only God can provide. I've definitely grown. I feel like it has made me closer to God, but not, I don't know. It's kind of a hard to explain sort of thing, but I'm grateful for that. And I want to give a shout out to the Haven Network. I don't know if they have any other locations other than in Rockford, Illinois, but they were wonderful. They are a Christian organization and they do all sorts of stuff for families who are losing babies in the hospital, and they were a huge blessing. I mean, they made us all sorts of little keepsakes with like his feet prints and his hand prints, and they get a professional photographer to come in and take professional photos. So we got all tons of photos that I just really cherish. A couple of free therapy sessions, which was huge because it is a lot of work and hassle to like start therapy and like the paperwork you have to do and stuff. So it was nice to be able to start and not have to deal with all of that until actually we had a few sessions, and then it was like, okay, I need to keep doing this. Okay, I'll go through the hassle of like filling out the paperwork and everything. So they do a lot, and it's a really great organization. I don't know if they have other chapters or if it's just in Rockford, but they're amazing.
So I hear this thread of just the Lord's presence and like small kindnesses. You can trace his hand over so many details of this story, even though obviously you would never choose to lose your child. I hear this thread of the Lord making good out of even that and showing you his love, his care, and just the beautiful gift of being able to know that Hugh lives on in a way inside another little baby. And a gift. What was the rest of your postpartum like after you came home and settled in and CPS was sent away? How did you and Lilli do in that adjustment?
Yeah, well, it was hard. I'm really grateful that we had so much support. We were living with my in-laws at the time, which was a huge blessing to have them there taking care of us. My mom stayed with us for a long while too. I don't remember how long it was. So we were really surrounded by a lot of support, and so we had moved in with my in-laws like shortly before I got pregnant, and I was still trying to like establish myself, find our friend groups, and, making friends and all that. And it felt hard because I had such a hard pregnancy and I was unable to be regular at like attending the different events and stuff. So I felt still like I didn't feel super connected. It was kind of like, well, I kind of have friends, maybe, I don't know. But this really it was like, yeah, I do have friends. Like, I had a friend, one of the friends started a meal train thing for us, and we had lots of people bringing meals to my family, and a couple of women who really stood out and are now some of my good friends that, I don't know, it just like felt like it solidified our friendship, I guess. Like I really felt like, I think we're friends, but then it was
great.
like, oh no, we're really friends. And then the other women who maybe I didn't get as close to, but are still like an important part of like my group, and to be able to see them and stuff. So yeah,
and you've shared this with me, I think, before we even, like when you reached out about sharing your story, and you said that you don't have regrets or shame. And what do you want to say anything about that?
I do. I feel like this is an important part that I want to share. So I had a really hard time I feel like I was trying to be really active and like working through my grief and doing the things and getting help and like just trying to, just my personality, I guess, to be like that. I felt like I was really like a lot of things that was recommended with like support groups and stuff, I really felt lacking, and I didn't feel like I belonged because it's such a weird, unique story that, yes, I lost a baby, but I also have a healthy baby. So that's the weird part. So I would try to find like the twin groups, but I didn't feel like I fit in with the twin groups because I didn't know I was having twins. And so it's just like, I don't feel like I really fit in anywhere with that. And so I don't know. What finally helped me was finding a friend. It was like, oh, you should join this Bible study. And so I joined this Bible study fellowship. I don't know if anybody heard of that. BSF. Great. It's just what I needed. I needed God. Also, my husband and I finally went through grief share, which we weren't really able to do until, I don't know. She was over a year old when we did that. What is this? So it took a while before we were able to do grief share, but that was also good. But being like faith and like the hope of resurrection and like leaning on God is really the only thing that I found to like help me. And I feel like this is not exactly answering your question yet, but I had my moments where almost like I felt weird because when I don't know, like I guess especially when I was comparing myself to like these ungodly like support groups, I feel like I'm not only do I not fit in because my situation is so different, but also I just feel like they're so hopeless. Like a lot of them just seem so hopeless. They're lacking.
We do not grieve as those who do hope.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's in 1 Thessalonians. Something about not grieving as the world grieves, because we grieve with hope. And times where I felt almost like weird, like I was doing weirdly well compared to other people. Not that, I don't want to get the wrong picture because I've had like, it's been a roller coaster of dealing with my grief. But yeah, and I remember, so I have an uncle who's a pastor, and I've talked with him a lot. And one of the times I was talking with him, he reminded me of something, and this is that I want to share about, is he's like, Elizabeth, you have wrestled with this since before you were ever a mom. He was like, I remember when you were pregnant with Nova and you were asking me questions and we talked about it. Like you were so in my first pregnancy, I do remember going to him because at one point in my first pregnancy, I just had this thought of, not in your mouth. I had this thought of how do you comfort women who have lost a baby, whether that's to miscarriage or stillborns or like just right after birth, or I'm like, how do you comfort them? Like, what is the comfort there? And so I talked to him about that, and he gave, pointed me to some different verses and talked me through that. And so, I had my time to like, I guess, be, prayerful about that and pondering that. And like with my first birth, and I was under no illusions when I chose to birth unassisted the first time that they're like nothing is gonna go wrong or could ever go wrong. Like I feel like that's part of birth, is contemplating that in birth is life and death, and there are no guarantees in birth or life. And so, and you have to really truly contemplate that and understand that. And while I can't, like I did, but not in the sense that I really thought anything would go wrong, but enough that I thought about it and I understood, oh, this is the peace and the comfort you get, from the Lord and that you can find in the Bible. And so, and I had already like pondered that even with my first pregnancy. And so it wasn't like this totally shocking. I really, like, it was shocking, but like deep down in me, I already knew that like there's always like that possibility, I guess. Like I'd already contended with that a little bit, even though I didn't actually, like, I didn't really truly think it would actually happen, right? Like nobody thinks that stuff is going to happen to them. But I think that the fact that I had processed that a little bit was really helpful in dealing with all of that in a way that I just think that most people don't do that. I mean, honestly, I think it would be healthy, doesn't matter where you're giving birth, like, because, right, like, as the doctors reminded my family, like,
Absolutely.
Stuff just you don't know, and there's no guarantees. No matter where you birth, there's no guarantees. And so but I think a lot of people don't get that, and a lot of people don't do that, and it's like something that they never expected
I do think birthing free and unassisted forces you to look at those things more intensely, more deeply. So I see now, like, that kind of prepared you for knowing how to be with what happened to Hugh.
Yeah, and that I don't regret it. Well, like I said, even if I knew I had twins, I wouldn't have done anything differently. And honestly, like, I don't know, like all of the things we've thought about it, I don't think there's anything we could have done that would have created that, unless I was a completely different person and didn't know anything about birth, and then just like maybe like had a planned C-section, maybe, but like that's totally not even our universe, right? Like that is not my path. That was never my path. My whole life was going to have a home birth. Like, it doesn't make sense to even think about, if we did that, because that literally I would have to be a different person and have lived a different life,
Yeah, great point.
So that makes no sense to even think about. And I really, truly believe that he was a healthy baby inside of me the whole time. And so I had a lot of time, different chances to like process the story and talk it through with different people, which another God thing. I don't even think I ever met with her again. I think it was like maybe twice, but for sure the one time. It was a new neighbor in the neighborhood that we went for walks with our strollers and ended up sharing birth stories, and I like told her stuff. It ends up being was a labor and delivery nurse for I don't know how many years, and so it was like helpful to process it with her. Here, Lilli, here. And I mean, that's just one of many. Like I've processed it out with a lot of different people, and like ultimately, I'm pretty sure what happened was, like, the crazy thing that happened was that the placentas detached before he was born. I mean, how I explained, like, him and the placentas came out at the same time. Like, in the moment, you're so like, and the placentas, like, surprise twins. So I wasn't really, like, thinking about the, like, details of that. But later, when thinking about it, it's like, I don't think he shouldn't have come out at the same time as his placenta. Like, his placenta was detached before he was born. And then thinking about how, the cord is supposed to be pulsing still, right? That's one of the reasons why you don't have to, like, freak out if maybe you're not immediately breathing, because you're still getting the oxygen from the placenta through the cord.
It can't pulse if it's not connected to your uterus.
That crazy, right? It wasn't. So I think he was already oxygen deprived before he was even born, and so and I do like in the moment I didn't process it because of the shock and stuff, I think. But later, looking back, it's like, I remember being like, wait, his cord is white already? Like, I don't know when exactly that was, but it was super. I don't know if it was already like that right when he was born, or like very almost immediately after. But I remember being like, wait, what? Because, in my head, I'm thinking, it's fine. Like, he's getting whatever from the cord, and then realizing, wait a second, like, this isn't
right.
What? Like, this isn't, like, it's white. How is it white already? Not just that it's not pulsing.
And how many minutes between their births? Do you know? You might not even know.
We don't really know, but it was pretty quick. Yeah, it was pretty quick.
It sounded like the way you told it. I just wondered if you had that number. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have the number. We know from looking at when we made from when Lilli was born to when we made the 911 call was like, I don't remember. It was like, I don't know.
It's okay. Like,
I really couldn't even tell you. It was a short amount of time, but I don't remember how long it was. It was really quick, though.
Well, I am just really grateful to you. I'm going to wrap us up here, but I am so grateful to you for being willing to have a conversation that the free birth community gets criticized for not having. namely that sometimes death is part of that story. And to not only be able to be honest and real about that and share your story, but also to share it with that lens of the gospel hope that we don't grieve as ones who do not have hope, because we do have hope. So thank you so much for doing that, and just the beautiful way that you've honored Hugh in this story too. So lovely. Sure.
Can I share one last thing about their names? So we didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl, but I really wanted to use Hugh because Hugh is, we've always known that if we had a boy, it'd be Hugh Dale. And then, but we, so my grandfather's name is Hugh, and Dale is Cody's grandfather's name and his middle name. But she is Lillian Hughina because Hughina was my grandfather's mother's name that he was named after. And there's several other like Hughes in the family. And so I wanted to either use Hugh or Hughina. Hughina, if it was a girl, we were going to have Lillian Hughina. If it was a boy, we're going to Hugh Dale. And we got to use both. And it's beautiful because his name is in her name.
Oh, so he's like living on in her name too. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Holy Wild Birth. We hope that you were genuinely encouraged, inspired, and challenged by what you heard today. If you're loving what you hear, please make sure that you share it. Leave reviews. That helps other mamas find this content as well. And don't forget to read the show notes, okay? Because that's where you can find our email address if you want to reach out to us and start a conversation. It's also where you'll find free offerings as well as invitations to work with me and or Lauren. We can't wait to get to know you. See you next week.